Trigger. My mother's always stressing I ain't living right. But I ain't going out.
We all know the legend of Michael Jordan cut from his high school basketball team, and that's what started the myth that actually turned out not to be true.
Yeah.
But following in those
A
footsteps,
freshman was forced to play JV.
and not on varsity.
Yeah, makes a cool story, though.
But it does make a cool
does.
story. The same thing has happened to a young Jeremiah Smith, the Ohio State wide receiver, who, when he was a kid, got clipped, got cut off of a kindergarten team?
No, he was 7, so that would put him in 2nd grade. Bruce Feldman has a really good profile up on kind of what made Jeremiah Smith into truly the monster that he is right now. And some people are just kind of wired differently. In this article, you can see Jeremiah Smith has always been wired a little bit differently. That 2nd grade football team he was cut from and didn't make, at 7 years old, his dad went to him and was like, well, you want to get better or not? And he went to the coach and he talked to the coach. Coach was like a friend of his, and he said, hey, I didn't know it was your kid. Tell him to come back. We'll do it. We'll put him on the team. And his dad was like, no, this will be good for him. So at that point, he was like, if you want to get better, how are you going to do it? At 7 years old.
Also, how are we cutting 7-year-olds?
Dude, little kids football
This is weird.
something. Like, it's if your child plays football young, that's more power to you. That's your thing. I grew up around the game of football. I coach high school football. I love the game of football. My kid's not playing tackle football till he's in 6th grade.
Yeah.
At least. I mean, that's where I am at. Because like my kid's not a lineman. Like he's not going to be afraid of contact. Like whatever. 7-year-old football, you learn more bad habits than good habits.
Sure.
That is, as a coach, as somebody who grew up around it, at 7, 8 years old, you learn more bad habits than good. Full stop. That is where I stand on it. But he was cut from a 7-year-old football. I mean, I have a former teammate that moved to Florida because of youth football when his kids are that young. I don't judge him. I don't think anything different of him. Just not how I'm going to do it. But in South Florida especially, that little kid football, like they're running books on those games. They got point spreads. It is a real deal. So he was cut from 7-year-old football, and it's something that still resonates with him. And he said that, from,
Well, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I know, 11 years ago, he like remembers that, and that kind of started to fuel him. And this goes to some people are just different. And Jeremiah Smith is one of those guys. He's just different. He's wired differently. Genetically, he is completely different. And like I think this is one of the interesting parts of the article is that they mention he is the cousin of Geno Smith. He has an older brother that played college football. He has an uncle that was a ACC champion in the hurdles and has a Bahamas Olympic sprinter in his family.
There's some genetics at play.
He was touched by the hand of God like his entire family was.
Yes.
Like his body, his traits, his attributes are just different. But the wiring between the ears is what really sticks out to me in this because he's using that 7-year-old football slight to kind of still fuel him. And that's like goes back to the Tim Grover, Michael Jordan's legendary trainer, right? Where he calls them cleaners. Those guys that their work ethic, their ability to turn a slight into a motivating factor and use that as fuel, there's very few of them in the world. And you're kind of, the way that Bruce Feldman kind of outlines this young man is just that. And he's a grinder, he is a worker, and I'll be damned, he is so fun to watch. He is really, really fun to watch.
It's one of those things where you pray to God that you've got Jabbar Muhammad on his side of the field all game long.
You know, that's going to be interesting. I don't know if Oregon does that.
You don't think he has him follow him?
No, I like at the beginning, like right in the aftermath of the Michigan State game, like I thought they may trail Jeremiah Smith. Then I watched the Iowa game and I was like, why do you trail Jeremiah Smith when Emeka Egbuka and then Carnell Tate will be back this week and he's getting healthier and healthier and healthier? They've got 3 legit guys. Why do you trail one when there's 3 NFL dudes? And if you trail one, the other 2 can still get you.
Yeah.
And that's where I go to, you know, what does Oregon always say? What does Lanning always say? And what are the guys kind of bought into this mantra of it's Oregon versus Oregon? I don't think that they're going to do anything different out of the gate when they play Oregon versus Oregon. If you say we're going to take away the best freshman in college football right now, I wouldn't. That's something I'd be like, yeah, go ahead and do it, right? Yes, trail Jabbar Muhammad with Jeremiah Smith. But there's something about their mentality where I just think the more and more I've kind of sat back and thought about it, I don't know if they're going to do that.
If it happens, it's more of a second half adjustment as opposed to coming out with it.
Yeah, if one of those guys is going off,
getting loose,
then but and again, I think it could be one of those guys is going off, not necessarily
not
the
all
freshman.
of them getting yeah.
You know, it could be Egbuka, it could be Tate. You know, maybe they just say take him away. Let's stop the bloodletting, right? If it gets to that point. But I think they come out and they say, no, we don't do anything different for anybody
just go
else.
like versus like and
we're gonna trust what we got because it's gonna be the same thing that Ohio State is faced with too. Are you gonna take Tez Johnson away? Are you gonna take Tez away and say we're gonna let Trayshawn Holden, Evan Stewart, Terrence Ferguson beat us? Because that's a legitimate question too. They've got 4 dudes. 3 of them are exceptional. 3 of them truly are exceptional. But Oregon has got weapons too. Are they as top end good as the 3 that Ohio State has? No, because when you look at Smith, Egbuka, and Tate, those 3 guys are supremely talented.
They're no doubt NFL guys.
When you have Tez, Holden, Stewart, those guys are really good. Yeah. And you look at the biggest games that both Trayshawn Holden and Evan Stewart have had, it was the closest game of the season, right? It was Dylan Gabriel saying they're taking Tez away. Evan Stewart goes for 100. Trayshawn Holden goes for 100. Those were their best games.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting. And